Greetings. We here at PLD Projects want to make it known that we wholeheartedly support the strikes by both SAG-AFTRA and the WGA against the greedy corporate studio executives. It is a fight for basic human decency. Our reviews, discussions, and critiques are in no way supporting the studios, merely dissecting the art and how these wonderful actors and writers continue to influence us on a daily basis. We thank you. PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, the Star Wars podcast, featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? We are back. We're back. Chewy, we're home.
Chewy, we're home. You call me Chewy just because I got long hair?
Maybe. Well, and I've always thought myself as Han Solo, and so I need a sidekick, and you're my sidekick, so you got to be my co-pilot. So you got to be
okay. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take co-pilot over sidekick.
Fair
that was a very nice message at the start of the show. There, I know a lot of people were doing the disclaimer thing, and a lot of people are probably wondering, guys, why are you doing this?
Yeah, it's a discussion that we had. Absolutely. We actually have seen the channel before. First off, welcome to Holy Snokes, our Star Wars podcast. I am PLD. This is my co-pilot, Matty Gunner. We have taken a few weeks off. There were scheduling issues. So we were sick. It didn't work out. And then, of course, came out to the next week. We kind of felt a little weird doing it with the whole SAG-AFTRA and WGA strike happening. It was kind of this weird place we were all at, trying to decide how to move forward. Of course, some sites are some YouTubers are moving forward, some are choosing not to. I respect both sides of the story. Absolutely, everybody's got to do what's right for them. And of course, some people are in different spots. We definitely toil with it a bit. I know you saw our, if you see the channel at all, you saw our little update we did, because we did that instead of Holy Stokes. You and I had a conversation about what we were going to do. And we felt comfortable doing the older stuff, pivoting away from some things towards newer stuff. This was always the biggest question mark, because this is the only show on the channel which really definitively every week discusses like new products from what would be struck companies. But there's that whole debate, like, where are we? Are we influencers? I hate that term. We're critics. Are we reviewers? Are we promoting? Are we not? And it's not about, I want to make this clear, it's not about whether we get in trouble or not, because we're not going to get in trouble. We're not SAG union. We're not SAG eligible. We're not SAG anything.
No WGA. No, we're not.
I'm saggy because I'm old. That's about all it is. I'm not sure. That's it. That's all I got. But besides that, nothing is going to get us in trouble. So the question mark became:
Can I just sit in that for a second? Well done.
Thank you.
I was not. I had one prepared. That was even better.
I had a little more time in my my elder state to be able to think about that kind of thing. Anyway, what I'm trying to say there is the fact that so the question mark became a morality thing at this point. Like, are we standing together with our friends who were picketing and everything else, and it's not. And we chose not that we're choosing not to stand with them, because we do stand with them. It's how we stand with them. I kind of feel like at this point, what we're doing isn't promoting the companies. We're making sure we have that disclaimer up top. We want to make sure we are all pro strike. We want them, writers and the actors, to get everything that they deserve and more. But by doing this, we also get to honor their work at this point, is that in a way that we can, because we are more critics and more reviewers than promoting influencers.
More importantly, we're fans that like to talk to each other about this, about these products. My thing was, because I won't lie, I was going back and forth on whether I wanted to talk about Ahsoka, whether I wanted to review Ahsoka. You gave me the option to be like, if you don't want to do it, I can do it by myself. I'm not going to put it on you. If you want to think about it, go ahead. So I did. I thought about it. And this is the conclusion I came to. There are going to be people out there who do not care about the writers of these shows. There are going to be people out there that do not care for the people that make these shows, whatever capacity they have. And those people are still going to be putting their opinions out onto the internet. Now, we have friends who have chosen to completely not talk about these projects. That is absolutely fine. We have people who, like us, are putting disclaimers at the start saying that we support the strikes. That is absolutely fine. But there are people that are just going to flat out not care and just go ahead with the usual opinions and use this as an opportunity to attack the product, attack. I bet you all the money in the world that if Ahsoka comes out and it doesn't do as well as Disney Lucasfilm are planning, they are immediately going to point to the strikes.
Yeah,
they are immediately going to say, this is Kathleen Kennedy's fault. This is the strike's fault. This is the actor's fault. This is the writer's fault. This is everyone behind the scenes fault. They're going to use the WGA strike to say it's shoddy writing because they knew a strike was coming. I bet you that's going to be one of the things. They knew a strike. The writers knew a strike was coming, so the writing was terrible on the show. I bet you I can almost see the thumbnails from half of these YouTube channels.
The red eyes.
Yes, the red eyes. And I can't stand those pricks. No. So rest in peace to Sinead O'Connor, who I found out she just passed there. She was a rebel without a shred of care. And I'm following in her footsteps because I'm not going to allow those pricks to have their opinions out there unchecked.
Yeah, it's good to have. I agree. I agree 100% as far as that goes. Because it does seem like we're leaving the people out there who we would not want to be the sole voice on the product. So we're going to try to provide a safe haven. And again, like I said before, like I said last time also, even when I was hemming and hawing about doing this, even as I gave you a choice and I was still trying to actually figure it out for myself even, this is still possibly fluid. Things could change. If we hear something later on from somebody who definitively comes out and says, no, this is hurting the strike, if that ever comes out, then yeah, sure. Then we might change and decide not to. At this point, though, we're going to move forward. We're going to start talking about Star Wars again, and just put that disclaimer up and hope that we all get on the same page. And hopefully this ends soon. I mean, from what I'm hearing, I'm not hearing good things. I'm hearing possibly January or February now, potentially, which would really obviously be awful for everyone involved, but especially, of course, when we worry about the most are the ones that are striking, that are going to be losing their houses at that point. Because
shout out to The Rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Good job, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, making a very sizable contribution.
I've been on the fence with him over the last couple of years, but he's doing that kind of put me back.
Yeah, I've always felt he was a good guy overall. I think there's been times he's made some questionable decisions as far as being aggressive business wise and trying to. But that's always been how he's gotten where he is being aggressively like taking part in doing stuff as far as he goes. You can have your doubts of them. I get it. I totally get it too. I think there's definitely some things that he's done that are not on the good side of things, but overall he made his mark with what he did. And I appreciate him for that. And hopefully that'll hopefully push some other people to also, if they can, help out their fellow actors because they were there at one point. Most of them were there at one point. So either way. Anything last thing to say about the strike before we move on?
Keep it up.
Keep it up. All right, let's go then. All right, with that being said, we have a lot of news to talk about because we haven't been here for almost like a month now. I think I don't even know how long.
Not even supposed to be here today.
So we kind of warred with like, well, do we go back to our last episode and do with all the news that's gone through there? I kind of felt like it was a tired story by now. If anybody really wants to know our opinion on some of the stories that passed, let us know on Twitter. I'll let you know. But we decided to pare it down a little bit to some of the more recent news bits and, or in some ways, the stuff that we wanted to at least have our opinion on, on record, so to speak, on the show. And then afterwards, we're going to go back into the Ahsoka trailer. If you look at the channel, we did a reaction to the trailer, a quick 10-minute thing. But I want to go through, not necessarily break it down. I'm not going to be like Alex or Star Wars Explained, Alex and Molly, where they actually like break down and say, this is this, this, and this. But I do want to look at it bit by bit and go, ooh, I'm more like a, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's this? Could this be kind of thing?
And then we'll go and watch Alex and Molly's video.
Go, oh, yeah, then we'll go see. Oh, thank you, Alex, for telling us. I used to be, I gotta say, I will say this out, put this out there, and this is a bold statement. I used to be Alex, like back in the day.
Wait, what? Hang on, I've met Alex. I've spent time around Alex. I've met you. I've spent time around you. So I'm very curious to know where this goes.
When I was younger, back in the days of like 1 through 6, give or take, even 1 through 6, and all the expanded years and stuff like that back then, I knew every little detail about everything. I was a timelines guy. I just knew it all. I was deep dive. Ever since like that started happening, the Clone Wars started coming out, I kind of pulled back a little bit from being the not the very knowledgeable wise old Jedi. Now I'm kind of like a little bit of a Padawan. I still know a lot, but they definitely know far more than I do as far as I've forgotten a lot. Let's put it that way.
Are you saying that Alex stole your idea for Star Wars Explained?
No, that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying as far as knowledgeability goes, I used to be that knowledgeable.
I know. I'm just busting your ball sag.
My love for the halflings, halflings leaf has clouded my mind. As they would say, Lord of the Rings. At this point, I've lost a few brain cells here.
Oh, so you're allowed to quote Lord of the Rings, but when I do, I'm going crazy
because you don't respect it. That's why you don't respect it.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
There you go. So it's like saying like when somebody like busts on your brother, you're like I could do that, you can't.
For anyone who hasn't listened to Class Action, I apparently, because I've only seen the theatrical version of Lord of the Rings, I apparently hate Lord of the Rings.
You don't respect it. You don't respect it.
You come to me with no respect. Let's get on to this news.
All
right, tell we've been off for a while because we're already going off on that.
I feel like we're a little punch drunk already. My God. All right. So one of the first things I want to talk about this is an older piece of news, but I thought it was kind of interesting, kind of cool.
It's an old piece, but it checks out.
It does check out. And again, I curate all my news from Star Wars News Now. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not being paid by them. I'm not a show for them. I just think it's a good place to get your information because they calibrate it all. They got to piece together what's good, what's not, what's rumor, what's fact. They had an article about Skeleton Crew and Jude Law and Chris Ford talking about their characters and the potential crossover with the rest of the Mandalorians, Mandalorian era, I should say. First of all, Jude Law about his character. I can't tell you very much about my character. He is someone the children meet on their attempt to get home. He is like a lot of the world they experience, contradictory, and at times a place of nurture, and other times a place of threat. Who does that sound like to you?
Haja.
Sounds just like
Haja.
Exactly. Or Hondo, for that matter.
Bro, what if they've just been putting Jude Law in the trailers, but when we actually see the show, Jude Law is playing Hondo?
I'd love it and hate it at the same time. I'd love it, but I would hate this. That's the way we discover it. I think we got to like.
I'd hate it because it's not Antonio Banderas.
That part of it too, or Jim Cummings doing the voice. I'd like it Antonio Banderas, or like what they did with Cad Bane, like have like the CGI kind of or like guy, but having Jim Cummings still do the voice. That'd be what I'd want to see. But Antonio Banderas would also be very good. But I do like the character. It is a Hondo-like character, which means the good side of this is we're going to see more of those characters because like characters tend to hang out together. It seems like Jude Law's character would be someone who would definitely have run across Hondo once or twice. So maybe he'll run across Hondo once or twice more in this.
Hondo watch will continue.
It does. It always continues. Okay, the other quote from Chris Ford, there may or may not be some crossovers. It's the New Republic era. For us, it was a great era because as much as the New Republic is trying to bring things back, it's kind of a lawless, wild time. So there's a lot of danger. If we had said it earlier, the kids would have probably met the Empire and just got shut down. This is more of a galaxy to get lost in. Now, they mentioned the crossover thing. I kind of feel like that's definitely going to happen. I feel like there may or may not be. It's kind of like code speak for, well, we don't want to say anything. We don't want anything definitive or anything. But we are in the same era as these shows. We actually know there's
Favreau's pretty much come out and said it himself.
We already know there's one crossover. The one pirate, I forget his name, from Vane. Yeah, that's Vane. From Mando is making an appearance.
It wasn't gory and sharp, was it?
No, it was his right hand man. It was not the Kale pirate. There it was.
Kale Organa. Shout out to John Hurry.
Yeah, John Hoey. Resistance broadcast. Love those boys. I'm gonna see John. I'm gonna be seeing John Hoey soon.
Oh yeah, you're going to Metallica, right?
Metallica, yeah, in early August. So that should be a lot of fun. Get to hang out with him. I haven't got to hang out with him since Spectacular. I think it was. That was like 2 years. Like not even last Spectacular. Spectacular before
Holy
that.
crap, that was a long time ago.
But yeah. So again, we got Vane there, so that's already going to happen. But I do actually love this concept, even though I knew the concept is here. It's great hearing Chris Ford like lay it out there, like more of the galaxy to get lost in. This really makes it kind of like, what can we discover? What is out there? I feel like we can learn so much about the New Republic era from the eyes of someone who's not really involved with, say, the actual New Republic. Mando is like that too. I get that Mando is not really involved in New Republic, but he gets really entangled with some of the New Republic stuff. So I think this is like interesting to me, a different side of things. What do you think about him?
You know who I want to see a crossover with?
You
know who I want to see look up? Who I would trust to look after those kids? That I would be like, holy shit, that's a crossover. Brasso.
Wow. I never thought about that. It's kind of because Andor has been feels like such a separate show from the Star Wars universe. So the way it's done, it's so serious, so adult. It's got ties in obviously to Rogue One because it's there, but it feels, and because maybe it's because of the time frame as well. Like all the live action shows. I mean, Obi-Wan is before, but everything else has been set in the New Republic era.
Andor's before.
Andor's kind of standalone kind of thing. But so I never even consider any of those characters like coming to play, except for like Mon Mothma, obviously. Having Brasso,
she's going to be in Ahsoka, right? She's in both Andor and
Ahsoka. That's because that's that. I said other than that because I expect her to be in other places. We've already seen her in other places. Like characters introduced in Andor, I feel like it feels almost weird thinking of them outside of Andor and anywhere else. But I think that would actually be a good thing. So I think one thing Andor has lacked has been a little bit of that connectivity of its characters out there. We have some of the characters like Mon Mothma and like Saw Gerrera are there, but they came from outside.
Don't speak his name. Don't ever say his name again.
I'm sorry. Well, when have I ever followed orders? So, but going the opposite way is something different. Any of the characters that were introduced in Andor, I haven't even thought of outside of Andor because it feels so isolated. I think it'd be a good thing to get some of those characters out. So I think you're right. Brasso would be awesome. Brasso and B2EMO. Run together again. That'd be great. So
I would, if I had kids, I'd trust Brasso with my kids.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. So all right, let's move on then to the next piece of news. This is definitely an older piece of news, but I definitely wanted to comment on it.
Does it check out?
Interview. It does definitely check out. James Mangold did some interviews with Josh Horowitz from the Happy Sad Confused podcast. I said that right?
Yes. Side note, before we go on, go watch his episode that he's just put up with Chris Nolan. It is fascinating. Back on track.
Yeah. I saw a part of that. I agree. I got to watch the whole thing. But he had introduced James Mangold because Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny just come out, and they did, of course, tackle Star Wars because James Mangold is definitely one of his next projects. Is going to be his Dawn of the Jedi movie. Talk about two things, which was kind of cool. He actually mentioned the Boba Fett movie, which, if you remember, back in like 2013, 2014, he was tasked with like developing a Boba Fett movie, and then it like just didn't happen. And then went to Josh Trank, and then it just went to shit. And yeah, here we are. But no one ever really confirmed it. Well, he confirms it. He actually said on Boba, at the point I was doing it, I was probably scaring the shit out of everyone, but I was making much more of a borderline rated R single planet spaghetti western. They probably would never. They would never be able to embrace Baby Yoda if I had made that. So it didn't really belong in the world I was kind of envisioning. So, in the moment of corporate realignment, for whatever happened with the Han Solo movie, they just decided they weren't making pictures like that. And the opportunities in streaming presented themselves. I was just listening to Enrico Morricone all day, all night, and typing away. I'm not sure it ever would have happened. I'm not sure it was anyone's plans what I was thinking. Now, as a podcast, I know for me, and I think I can speak for you too, we enjoyed the Book of Boba Fett for what it was.
Yeah.
I had a great time with it. I think it fits in well with Mandalorian. We are pro Book of Boba Fett. At the same time, hearing Mangold talk about what he was going to do with Boba Fett
just makes you think, doesn't it?
It does make you think that could have been very interesting in an alternate world. I would have loved to have seen that, to be honest.
There are some great fan films out there on YouTube. Shout out Jackson Hall, who did a fan series called After Endor. It's not about Boba Fett, but there are some really great fan movies about Boba Fett, and it just makes me think, Jimmy, but just
Hey, Jimbo.
find
Big Jim.
some call up someone to put on the suit. Take a camera in your back garden. Take a camera out to the desert and just shoot.
Yeah,
and if it happens to end up on YouTube, it ends up on YouTube.
But yeah, it's a very interesting conversation. If you'd go look back at that one, it was a very overall interesting conversation about that and about Indiana Jones as well. So I can't say anything more bigger about that. The next part of the conversation, though, I do want to talk about as well. He talked about his Dawn of the Jedi. He's cool. He's talking about his time frame being so far away, obviously so far in the past. He said, when I talked to some of the Star Wars clerics that keep track of all these timelines, I was like, so when would this happen? And they were like 25,000 years before episode 1. And I was like, oh, I was looking for some distance. That's distance. I'll do it. I might find Charlton Heston in an abandoned subway station, but I'll do it. The reality for me is that feeling of space, no pun intended, was something that I felt was really important, not to get away from fan service or the intricacies of what George had set up and dreamed of, but just to have the space to tell a story and not be instantly encumbered with the bases you have to hit. Which honestly, there's no way to explain it to folks other than to say it's like that game we played as kids, Twister. At a certain point, you're entangled because you're just trying to find a way to tell a story with so many constraints that you can't.
What a great analogy.
It is. And like, I understand completely.
Remember Twister?
Of course, I remember Twister. I remember a lot of drunken Twister college
Twister games. Was great.
Yeah, there's a lot of clothes lost during those actually. But okay. So I think the best part about this entire entanglement is like I understand what he's saying. As much as I know you and I definitively love more than anything, love the connectivity of Star Wars. Every time we get this like intricate web, we love seeing that. We love seeing the crossovers. We love seeing this as a connected universe. But I definitely understand the desire for a filmmaker to have wide open space in this universe. He doesn't have to touch base with anything. No characters are around. Even Yoda, not even thought of yet. But when this film is coming out, there's
not even a twinkle in his daddy's eye.
Absolutely, and we're talking about Yoda's great grandparents are around, maybe if anything. So
would it be that long? If it's 25, is it 2,500 or 25,000?
25,000.
Okay, yeah, that is quite long.
So yeah, that's a long time, and so it's very freeing. Now, I find it very interesting to juxtapose that comment with our next news bet because I want to make sure this is clear. Because I feel like some people, probably some of the red eye thumbnail type people, have taken this the wrong way. Are going to use it against them later on.
One day I'm gonna start naming these channels. When we're a bigger channel, I'm gonna start naming these channels. What are they gonna do? Fight me?
Right, there you go. They could. They lose. So we'll move forward to the next bit of news, which I talked about, which was Kathleen Kennedy, which was talking about both the new Jedi Order film and Mangold. And she said, and the quote was, I think what's always great about Star Wars is it's a big galaxy. We're coming off what was a major war with the First Order. And now Rey has made a promise to Luke, and that's really the core of where we're going and what the story will be. I think it offers this tremendous opportunity to introduce new characters and start with something fresh because we culminated with what George was creating, and now we take all of that and move it to the next chapter. It was something that Jim immediately sparked to, and I really think it's a nice compliment to what we're doing with moving into the future with Rey and understanding a bit more of where this all came from, because it will be at the heart of creating the new Jedi Order. So to get a sense of where that might have began with the Dawn of the Jedi could be pretty cool. Now, two parts of this. The first part I want to take a touch base with is the Mangold stuff. She made these comments and basically alluded to the fact that there was going to be some possible connection between the Dawn of the Jedi film and the new Rey Jedi Order film. And I feel like a lot of people have just like interpreted this wrong. I feel a lot of people looking into this and going, oh my God, Rey has the Jedi text, the page turners as they were. And I think they feel like we're going to have Rey looking at the text, looking at some older person in the text, and all of a sudden James Mangold's movie is going to be about that character. There's going to be some kind of connection that way. I think that's very overt. And could it happen? Sure, it could happen. But if it doesn't happen that way, don't lose your shit, because that's not what she's saying. I don't think she's coming out saying that. To me, it feels more like the spirit of the Jedi Order that James Mangold is creating will tie into what the spirit of what Rey's new Jedi Order is. So it's a spiritual connection only. Don't look too far into it. It's not that deep.
Here's the thing, and this is my take. Mangold's film, I don't even think we're getting Jedi. The era is just called Dawn of the Jedi.
Yep.
This is the first movie of that era. I don't think we're gonna get Jedi. I don't think we're gonna get lightsabers. Right. I don't think we're gonna get kyber crystals. I don't think we're gonna get force powers. I think this is just gonna be the very, very start, and it's gonna go to Rey being like, okay, let me go back deeper. And let me form my order around the true origins of the Jedi. Now, there can be some things wrong in that because obviously that order weren't quite aware of the full extent of the powers that they discovered.
Right.
So there is potential for things to go wrong there.
Right.
Which further envelops that story out.
Absolutely.
But I think it's going to be more of a case of like they introduced force healing in The Mandalorian so they could use it in The Rise of Skywalker.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to look at it, to be completely honest. I think that's the way, that is absolutely the way to look at it. It's a spiritual thing. It's a connectivity that way. It's not going to be X character, Y character. Nobody's jumping time travel wise. It's not they're going to jump forward. It's just, that's not the way it's going to work, I don't think. Now, could it work that way? I mean, I'm not going to say it's definitively not going to work that way. I just want you not to like get to this point where like when it doesn't happen, you're like, fuck this, Kathleen Kennedy lied again. Because that's not what's going on here, folks.
You know that's going to happen. Not from us, but you know that's going to happen.
I know. As much as I can stem it off, if I can stem it off at all with one person, then I'm happy. I'm happy. The other part about that comment that she made, another thing that the Red Eyes got mad about. She said something effective.
That's the new name for them. From this point on, we're gonna call those people the Red Eyes.
And she said something about it was all about Rey making a promise to Luke, the core, blah blah blah. She said, "Tremendous opportunity to introduce new characters and start with something fresh because we culminated with what George Lucas was creating, and now we take all of that, move it to the next chapter." These people are going, "Oh my God, Kathleen Kennedy is deleting George Lucas. She's not following the George Lucas tenets anymore. George Lucas is not a part of Star Wars, and it's going to get even worse." And I'm like, that's not what she's saying at all. She culminated with what George was doing because George was doing the original saga, the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy. And even though they didn't use his stories, the sequel trilogy is a part of that Skywalker saga. They have to move on now because you can't do stuff. George hasn't written anymore. George hasn't, like, this is not George's, unfortunately, this is not George's Star Wars anymore. It really isn't. And that's not a bad thing. That's a healthy thing. George will always be at the basis of what they're doing.
Mangold said he's going to sit down with George to talk about how this should go.
Dave Filoni is George's heir apparent.
We actually brought that. I want to say we actually brought that up a few episodes ago. That we hope that Mangold will be sitting down with George. And from what I've seen, it looks like he is going out to Skywalker Ranch, and they are going to be having a powwow and having a writing session together, which is good.
When he wants to finish his first pitch, is what I gathered. Like this, maybe his first go through the script, and then he'll talk to George and make sure it all connects properly. That's the way it is, and I think that's fine. And I think Kathleen Kennedy is doing that moving forward too. I think it's not like they're deleting George, or it's just they are moving on. They have to keep Star Wars alive. At some point, George is going to be gone there, and they're still going to have the basis be George's Star Wars. He's the one who created he's the creator. He's the one who started the universe. Not deleting him. It just Kathleen Kennedy maybe. I don't even think she could have. I was actually going to try to give them a leg to say and say maybe she could have worded it better. I don't think she even could have worded it better. So screw them. I'm done with them.
Brian Ward, if you just so happen to be listening to this show, I need a "What Would George Do" T-shirt. You know the whole "What Would Jesus Do" thing?
Yeah.
I need a what would George do?
I love it. I love it. All right, let's move on to a more fun speculation now. So I want to try to get through all this news we had to get through. Emilia Clarke was doing a junket for Secret Invasion with Ben Mendelsohn, and one of the questions asked about her possible return to Star Wars as Takira. And the way it put forward, I wish I had the TikTok to show. I don't have it because it's been deleted since then.
It's just basically Ben Mendelsohn asked her, "Would you return to your Star Wars character?" And Emilia Clarke was like, You see, the thing about that is, and Ben Mendelsohn was like, "I'll answer this."
Yes, I did.
By the way, Ben Mendelsohn is such a treat, and this is why I want him. I want him to come back as Krennic in the next season of Andor. He is one of us. Watching the junket he's been doing for Secret Invasion, while I haven't been a fan of the show, when he started talking about how like Doctor Doom is his favorite character, and he was like, "This is why Doctor Doom beats everyone in the MCU. This is why he's better. Screw the Fantastic Four." I was like, "Oh my god, he's one of us."
Oh, dude is a gem. He always plays the villainous type characters. Usually, not usually. Talos is not a villainous type character. A lot of his characters tend to be villainous because he's good at playing villainous. But Krennic, exactly, because freaking Bloodline and things like that, and Ready Player One. But he actually just seems like a delight of a person to hang out with. I'd want to have a beer with him, absolutely. And I love the fact that he took over. He was a professional, helped protecting Emilia Clarke. So it feels like he might know what's going on. He might ask that question pointedly when she started stumbling. He's like, "Oh, I could get her in trouble. I'll take the question because I want to come back to Star Wars."
I think she's coming back.
I think she's coming back too.
Don't think it's in a show. I don't think it's in a movie. I think yes. I think Kira is going to show up in Outlaws because if you go and watch Alex Stamen's sit down with the devs and the producers of Outlaws, he brings up what other factions could we see, and they go Sturm.
Yeah, they do, and that was like it's out there in the space that's potentially possible because it would make sense of where they are. We know Kira's around during that time frame. We know she's definitely involved with the outlaw type characters, so it would make sense for her to appear there. And I think that might be the case too.
Video game work isn't covered by the strike right now.
That's true. That's a good call. That's a good
point. So I'm just saying, like, all roads are clear.
Absolutely.
I'm upset that we probably won't see her in a series or a movie anytime soon, but some Kira is better than no Kira.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, give me more Krennic too.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, I love, give me more Krennic, absolutely. Now, I'm gonna be a hot take here. I've never been a huge Emilia Clarke fan. Since Game of Thrones, since everything she's been in. I don't want to like be negative about people. I don't want to be, that's not my thing really. But let's just say I don't get like overly excited when I hear her in a part. That being said,
I get overly excited when I see her in a part.
Okay, that's a different story. Something completely different. But I will give her credit. Secret Invasion, I know it has been. You said you didn't like it. A lot of people have said it's been a slow burn, too slow a burn. I think it has been as well. I like it more than a lot of people do. It seems like, but it's I know it's exactly, to me. It's like, and now I don't want to get into this big Secret Invasion discussion, but I'll just say quickly. To me, like it was an epic comic storyline. It should have been an epic movie with a bunch of crossovers and everything else. And they presented this really low down, slow burn of a case, which not a lot of effects
and then rush the hell out of the finale. Which my only thing about the finale is with that fight scene that took place, and you're telling me the best we can do for a live action Dragon Ball is Dragon Ball Evolution? Fuck you.
It was a cool fight. It was a very cool fight looking fight sequence.
It should have been a Dragon Ball Z fight because that was a Dragon Ball Z fight.
It was. But I want to give Emilia Clarke some credit. First of all, Ben Mendelsohn was still tremendous. Olivia Colman was tremendous. Emilia Clarke was I actually dug her quite a bit in this. I would like to see her come back as Kira because I like the character of Kira. Now, here I'm going to jump right into our next category. I really set up the news well today. I went and got myself in the back. It's kind of gone from one to another. Where we might not see Kira is a Lando series. Because Lando, according to Justin Simeon, who's doing a press tour for, I believe it's the Haunted Mansion is what he's doing. They asked him about Lando, and Justin Simeon was quoted saying, "I certainly poured my heart and spent a lot of time working with them to put together a really great show. It feels like everybody loves it. And, I was told we had to put it on pause because of scheduling. And the next update I got was in 2020, some years ago. So I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with it." It means you haven't heard from them since 2020. That's 3 years ago. That kind of contradicts what Kathleen Kennedy said, that it was still open. But then again, Donald Glover has also come out and said that it was still on the table as well. So I kind of feel like maybe Justin Simeon is just like lower in the pecking order. And basically it's Lucasfilm and Donald Glover. And it's basically whenever Donald Glover, I agree, but I feel like Lucasfilm is making a mistake if they're not talking to Justin Simeon about it. If they still want him, either they're moving on from Justin Simeon, which they should probably at least tell him that if that's the case. But kind of in my head, I feel like Lucasfilm is a big company, but a small company's mentality sometimes. That's what it feels like to me. And I kind of feel like Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm have been talking to Donald Glover, and they're like kind of like, okay, we're here. We like this idea. Donald Glover, when you're ready, let us know and we'll go from there. And then they're going to tell everybody else that it's time at that point. So I kind of feel like that's what's going on.
He is one of the craziest busy men in show business.
Mm-hmm.
I've said this so many times and people get upset when I say it. I don't think this show is going to happen solely because of how busy Donald Glover is. He probably just doesn't have time, and that's okay. Call Billy D.
There you go. I do think it will happen eventually because I kind of feel like Donald Glover is a hugely busy guy, but I also kind of feel he's unique in terms of like one of these days it's just gonna snap him and go, okay, I'm ready now. And I think Lucasfilm will go, okay, let's do it. I think they'll do it whenever he's ready. And I think it might be 3 years from now, it might be 4 years from now. You know what I mean?
Think maybe we'll get it, but I really don't think Donald Glover is going to be involved. I think it's going to be a case of they're like, all right, now or never. Donald Glover's busy. Let's call Billy D. Let's do a
Calrissian
a Calrissian Chronicles. Like he's sitting there and he's like running through stories.
Right.
And they de-age Billy D.
Yeah, I hope they don't do that. I actually don't want to see that. What I would like to see, I would like to see a Donald Glover Lando. I wouldn't mind seeing Billy D appear as kind of like the bookend of the episode where he is telling the story about this. And we flash back to Donald Glover being actual Lando during the adventure. But all right, final bit of news before we dive into the Ahsoka trailer. The Acolyte. A couple of quick bits here. Oh, actually, 2 pieces of news. Sorry, 2 pieces of news left. The Acolyte reportedly spent $50 million for pre-production. I don't even know what that stands compared to other Star Wars shows. That seems like a lot of money for pre-production on a show.
Did you say 50 or 15?
50. $50.
That's
49 million before filming even began.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. I mean, but then again, looking at the article, Andor spent $67.9 million on pre-production. So I don't know. Maybe the idea is we should cut these things down a little bit. I mean, to save money for like.
I mean, Iger's talking about and how much of a hole they're in. Like, yeah.
That's something because like it's not like they're major. Like at this point, they're trying to cut back on Star Wars. Maybe just cut back on the budget you got at this point. At the same time,
how much was Oppenheimer's budget? It was tiny, wasn't it? Well, it wasn't tiny, but it was like fairly smaller.
Well, especially like compared to like you're talking just pre-production budget. I will say that like for another frame of reference, Rogue One came in at $44.7 million on pre-production, less than the Acolyte. The Last Jedi had $57.6 million. Just a little bit more than the Acolyte. That's a big film kind of thing. I mean, I would argue the other part about it is the fact that Obi-Wan, the criticism towards Obi-Wan Kenobi series was that it sometimes looked cheap comparatively. That's what some of the criticisms were. I think it looked okay. I understand where it's coming from a little bit. Those 2 volume, 2 whatever. So I don't really know. I'm talking about this argument in a frame of mind. If this is what they're spending, this is what they're spending. But I feel like that's what they could do is find a way to cheapen the pre-production or somehow to get us more instead of cutting back on quantity. And we can kind of like there's 2 ways to go about it. Cut back quantity a little bit, but also kind of try to reel in the budget a little bit. You don't need that much money. I mean, the original Star Wars came in a lot less than that.
So I'm looking at. It looks like the Oppenheimer overall budget was $100 million.
Really? That's a small budget.
That's a small budget, and that's Nolan.
Yeah, that's a full budget.
And you look at the cast that he's got: RDJ, Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt.
I will say before we go that route, Christopher Nolan's also the kind of guy that actually like, I'll take a pay cut just to work with him. To be honest with you, like he's because I'll be in the movie.
Maybe that's the solution. Just get Christopher Nolan to do Star Wars.
There you go. So let me clarify. I when I was talking a few minutes ago, I just realized, like, I was coming off the way I came up. I'm not saying sacrifice quantity for quality for quantity. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But I'm saying as a way to do a little bit of both. That's what I'm trying to say. I feel like we can cut down the cost a little bit, but also cut back a little bit and make a better overall product with be more responsible with our budget. As far as that goes, I mean, granted, it's hard to even say that too because I don't know what they're spending it on necessarily. So I guess I'm really talking out of my ass. Who knows what's going on at this point? But I just found it an interesting story I just feel it's a lot of money spent on pre-production, let alone the rest of the show.
Volume, deep fake, like that shit cuts money.
Yeah, absolutely does. So the other part of that news bit was a wild rumor put forth by Forbes. Let me get the actual their quote from him. I don't like. Okay. It made, according to I didn't read the actual Forbes article, I read the Star Wars Newsnet article. They said the series has to premiere exclusively on Disney Plus sometime next year. The Forbes article makes mention of speculation that Keanu Reeves may have a cameo in the series, but at this time, this should be taken as a wild rumor and not fact. After Star Wars Newsnet reached out, Lucasfilm did not comment on Reeves' involvement. So, you have thoughts on that?
It ain't gonna happen. Would I love for it to happen? Absolutely. Do you know why this rumor has come about? Because Carrie Ann Moss is in there, and she wasn't in John Wick 4, so they're like, "Oh, maybe we're gonna see." Because Lawrence Fishburne was in John Wick, they're gonna be like, he wants to reunite with all of his old friends. He's gonna go be with Carrie Ann in the Acolyte. No, he's about to record an album and go on a 2-year world tour with his band. He's working on the second Cyberpunk game. There's Johnny Silverhand. That's going to take him forever because that game took what, close to 10 years for them to make. For them to make the sequel, that's going to take a really long time. Plus this talk of John Wick 5. No. Would I love it to happen? Come on, it's me.
Well, I will push back. I'll push back and say it's a cameo. So if he's in town for the day, if they were both in London or whatever where they're shooting, he was there. Maybe he was actually doing that. Maybe he was visiting Carrie Ann Moss, and then they said, you know what, put some Jedi robes on, throw yourself in the background there. Why not? Maybe he'll pass through. Maybe they'll give him a line or something. He'll be the Jedi, just looks at somebody else doing something Jedi-like and just go, whoa.
Is he just gonna have like a bunch of lightsabers under his cloak and just like pull it open? Is he gonna be like the Hu Yang before Hu Yang and just like know everything about lightsabers?
Maybe that's what it'd be. Who knows? So I'm not banking on it at all. It's obviously it's a wild rumor. It's wild speculation. Would it be cool? Sure, it'd be fun. It'd be fun.
It'd be cool. It would also blow my fan casting as Keanu as live action Darth Revan out of the water. Right. So I'm not too crazy on that.
I get that. Okay. Last bit of news before we move on to the Ahsoka trailer. We had the publishing panel at the Comic-Con, and I want to thank Alex and Molly for doing great live tweeting of it. Wonderful work there. Just some quick stuff coming out. Got a couple High Republic books coming out. Escape from Valo, which is a middle grade book, and Defy the Storm, which is a young adult novel. The cover looked great. If you get a look at that cover, that was a lot of cool stuff on that. Defying the Storm, of course, obviously, that's good stuff. I gotta say, one thing I want to introduce on this channel, I think, is I have so many projects of reading Star Wars stuff and rereading Star Wars stuff. I kind of have this. What did PLD read this week, or where is he in his read throughs? I'm reading some great stuff. I'm reading. On Legends side, I'm reading the Last of the Jedi series. I think I'm in book 6 now, Ferris Olin and things. I started doing a canon read through, and I'm finally reading Path to Deceit, which I just started not too long ago.
Oh, okay. I'm curious to know what you think about that because a lot of people were very hit and miss on.
So far, so good. I like a lot. I like a lot of it so far. I'm not sure where it's going, but I kind of like where it's going. But the one I do want to talk about eventually is the one I'm halfway through, or not even halfway through, probably a quarter of the way through, is the Rise of the Inquisitor one, the Rise of the Red Blade.
Rise of the Red Blade. That is so Dawson is crushed that. It's so good. We have to do an episode on that.
We're gonna have to do when I finish that book, we'll do a full on breakdown of that or a review of that. It's one of my favorite so far. If it sticks to landing or if it keeps going, again, I'm only a quarter of the way through, but even so far, I'm like, this is one of my favorite canon novels that we have. It's such a great look into thing. This is a great humanizing of the Jedi I think it's brilliantly done so far, and I'm hoping that it continues on that same path. So I definitely push that. So other things, real quick, we got, of course, the High Republic comics are coming out. A new miniseries called The Shadows of Starlight. A couple of course, the Dark Droids tales. Some cool reference books, which I love the reference books. The High Republic Character Encyclopedia is coming out, I believe, in either December or maybe late November. And I'm looking forward to that because I got to be honest with you, when I read the High Republic, there's a lot of new characters, and sometimes they blended a little bit. So getting like a picture of them, which they usually do an artist rendition of it, and then seeing it will definitely help clear things up for me as far as who's who. So look forward to that. And I'm excited that Pablo Hidalgo's come back with a visual guide for Dawn of the Rebellion, which seems like from a quick announcement that they mentioned, seemed like it is a visual guide of basically all of the between episode 3 and episode 4 stuff, like a lot like Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm guessing it's going to do with Clone Wars and Rebels as well, kind of things. Or not Clone Wars, but Rebels at least. And Bad Batch, maybe. I don't know if that's going to be the case. But yeah, I love the books. Andor, yeah, Andor is right on the covers. Andor and Obi-Wan were on the cover together, so that's kind of cool thing. So I look forward to that as well.
That's an attractive cover.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was very attractive cover. Finally, last bit I'll talk about as far as publishing panel goes, coming up soon. I want to say it's the end of August. I wish I had these dates in mind. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad host. But from a certain point of view,
August 29th, Return of the Jedi. Yeah, August 29th.
I thought I was going to say 28th, so I was pretty close. But I love those books. I love those short stories. And I guess an excerpt was read of the Obi-Wan story. And Alex said that the author read it and did like the Obi-Wan voices and everything. And then it was a really, really cool excerpt from the story. So I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait for those.
I've read the Obi-Wan comics that Marvel put out recently. There's a story in there of Obi-Wan and the sons of Tatooine going out to rescue a lone stormtrooper. It's a really cool story. A stormtrooper gets like lost away from his troop, and Obi-Wan goes to save him from like a massive sandstorm. It's a really cool story. So yeah, I'm curious to see what old Ben's been up to, and if Tika's involved.
That'd be awesome to see. I'd love to see a connection there between the Obi-Wan series and.
I just want to know if Tika survived the Sandcrawler. That's all I need to know.
All right, let's move on to the rest of the episode. We're going to talk about really quickly. Again, we did a trailer reaction. This is going to be more of a stop, pause, learn, and see what's going on kind of thing. We're going to look at it, and from the get-go, not going to have any sound. I don't want to get struck for this one. I want to just kind of look at it and go, let's see what we have here. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. All right, let us bring this out. So I know we can't, if you're listening on the audio, I'm sorry. You're going to have to, it's more of a visual portion of the podcast. We try to do everything for the audio listeners as well.
Subscribe to the YouTube.
Subscribe to the YouTube at this point. But we're going to go through a little bit and watch it. So right away, come up with a ship. We'll start off right with a ship.
That's a Lambda shuttle, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a Lambda shuttle. I don't know what the one behind it is. It looks like it's one of those rebel cruisers from like Empire Strikes Back when they're getting away.
That looks like one of the ones that appeared in the first show. I have a hunch that is a Chiss Ascendancy ship.
Could be. Because as always, we know these trailers can do tricky things, right? They can kind of like juxtapose scenes that are nowhere near each other, put them together to make it look like something else. Because the next scene, you talk about Baylan having wars inevitable. The next thing we see is Baylan and Shin doing some damage to some crews. Now it looks like a rebel ship. Obviously, got the
there's rebels. So yeah, that could be.
If that's what I'm talking about, the juxtaposition, is that the same scene? Or just like it's something completely different. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
These trailers are usually the first couple of episodes. So.
Right. Good point. That's a good point as well. So definitely the cool rebel costumes like that. Obviously, we have the scene we saw before. We have the scene, the hallway scene. Now, the scene started to be a Star Wars bit. We had obviously Vader and Rogue One. We had Luke and Mandalorian, and now we have Baylan in this ship at this point. I don't care though, because I still think they're pretty badass. I love them, so I'm okay with it. But it's a great introduction to both Baylan and Shin.
Dude, Ray Stevenson is so imposing. He is terrifying.
He is. I think he's one of the scariest villains we've ever seen in Star Wars.
One thing I pointed out, I was actually talking to Ken Knapsack about this. The way he says we are no Jedi is just with pure disgust.
Yes. Oh God, yeah. I'll actually play that off here. I'll play it up in the volume here.
We are no Jedi.
Like you could just hear it in his voice.
Yeah, so good. I like seeing that. Actually, I know it's not, but when I saw the trailer the first time, I was like, "Is that Anthony Daniels?" He's slicing there.
That would be hilarious.
I love this shot, by the way. I love getting to see Shin in the background. It's like walking, like just walking, boom, boom. There's where they start blocking blaster bolts, as it were. It's a great juxtaposition as they move on. Love the red.
Love the red. The
Love
red
the red.
logo looks sick.
Ahsoka. Okay, now what's that? Is that a Night Sister?
No.
No, or is that
like a Night Sister than me?
I don't know what that is necessarily.
I think that might be her.
Maybe it might be Ahsoka herself.
Maybe it's like a illustration that Sabine's done.
Maybe, I don't know. That definitely threw me off.
Because if you go back and look at the wall, it kind of looks like a fabric-y kind of a wall. So maybe it's like a in the tent.
It could be, but also to me, it looks a little like a rock thing, a rock formation as well, potentially.
Maybe.
So
I just thinking because like the line this is going like way deep into it. The lines are like more curved.
Yeah.
So it's what makes you think maybe it's some kind of a top or a.
Maybe. I think it's more. I think it more be a circular room. That's what I kind of feel like. It's a circular stone room. All right, we'll get that, of course. Thrawn Return to the Empire. We get the same shot from the first trailer.
The Blue Man Group.
Where is this now? This like Stonehenge thing got going on.
I think this is Dathomir.
Dathomir? Okay. Well, that would
be because there's the whole thing now, and we're going to get to them. Morgan Lisbeth is a Night Sister.
Is that confirmed, or is that like
pretty much?
Okay.
Or she is a witch of Dathomir.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
I'll get when we get there. I'll explain more.
I also wonder: is this another different entryway in the world between worlds? Like I kind of feel like this might be as well. Like we have obviously the one in Lothal, but I think this might be a different one. Maybe. So I don't know. It's possible that it could be one of those situations because they got Balin and Shin walking to it. So I don't know. We're gonna find out, I guess, aren't we? Let's see. Finally find Thrawn. See, that takes place right there. I think we're in.
All right, go back. All right, hit play. Go pause. Play pause. Yeah, there you go. You see that little bit of green?
Yeah, that could be.
That's Night Sister magic.
That could be. It could very well be Night Sister magic.
And a lot of people are decanting it because like, oh, she's not as pale as Asajj Ventress or Merrin. It's like she doesn't have to be.
She could be a different form. Could be generations later. It's a generation later.
Savage Opress and Maul weren't the same color.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe she was someone who I don't know. It could be different. Totally different ways you could do it. So, all right. So next on, power such as you never dreamed. See again, this is that same place that I just were. I feel, and now also that coming up is that
looks to me like a kind of a map.
Yeah, it does look like that to me too. Kind of looks a little bit like the Last Jedi or Force Awakens type thing,
like a map of the unknown regions, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, we got this shot now, which is we got this the first trailer too, but she looks badass. I love her. I think she's going to be a fan favorite type character.
You know, she reminds me of the Bride from Kill Bill.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's absolutely good to see some Uma Thurman there, 100%. Okay, a lot of ships there, a lot of public ships there going through. I'm going to rewind a little bit to see again. Of course, Hera, awesome. See that shot before. Chopper saw shot. There we go. Hera getting a line talking about preventing a war. That means a lot. That's a great talk about because she's been through war all her life. So it's really interesting.
She's been fighting this war since she was 6 years old.
Exactly. Thank you, Andor. But it's true.
Side note, I found out Chopper's kill count the other day.
That's crazy.
50,036. That's Chopper's kill count.
Okay, no, because he has taken down a couple of ships, like some of the kind of ships that they count. Absolutely. Yeah. Now this is kind of cool, seeing as obviously part of the provisional part of the government. Mon Mothma getting an appearance. I don't know who these people are, although I did see a story about that. I think the guy next to Mon Mothma, to the right of Mon Mothma, is the father of the lead in the Resistance show. I forget his name now because I never watched the
I
whole way
forget it.
through.
I haven't watched Resistance in a very long time.
I'm going to
So.
find out, so I'm going to stop being a bad host.
But
Star Wars Resistance.
Seeing Mon Mothma in this is kind of like what we know the New Republic to be now. They're kind of pussies at this point.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like how did Mon Mothma get to the place where she's like starting the rebellion, and now she's a figurehead in the regression?
Yeah. Well, she's
That's what
tired of
I
the
want to see.
war. I think it's part of it. I think it's an interesting sidebar. I think that she's someone who is like she fought. She was dragged kicking and screaming to fighting. She knew it was the right thing to do. They defeated the Empire. That was her enemy. Now the Empire's gone in her eyes, and she doesn't want to believe anything else is happening because she wants to put forth the right idea. Unfortunately, she goes into the wrong way, and that's what happens with the First Order rises up. By the way, Kaz Ziono is the lead character.
Kaz, that was it. I just keep thinking about Donald Faison's character.
Yeah, I do too, actually. His father is Senator Hamato Ziono, played by Zima in the animated series. So I don't know who that is, but I think that's who that is supposed to be. So that's the senator there. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see that. Again, I like a little bit of connectivity. Makes sense to me. So let's see what we got.
And they're bringing in a character from Resistance as well.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
kind of a nice.
I do like that. I have to actually. I never finished the Resistance. I got to be honest with you. I have to go. I have to go back and finish it. So
see, like the look on Mon Mothma's face back then was like dead serious. Like she knows, like that look there. She knows that there's a possibility that what Hera's saying is true. Right. I think she knows that the job's not done, but she's just like, look, I'm tired of this.
Yeah, I think she's just a tired person. She's a tired woman at this point. I gotta be honest with you. Mon Mothma is one of the most fascinating things about the new canon to me so far because we just know so little after Return of the Jedi. If you go back to the Legends Day, the Expanded Universe days, we got a lot of Mon Mothma leading after the Empire fell. In this canon, we've heard very little. She appeared in Bloodline. We know she died at some point, not too long after that, not too long after Bloodline, I don't think. And she seemed to be pretty, honestly, a little more inept. So I kind of feel like there's something more going on that we don't know. And I can't wait to hear that story because I can't possibly imagine her being inept. So defining her as being tired and maybe starting to lose it, I think that'd be a very fascinating story to tell. So I'm interested to see how it goes. All right, we got Hera and Ahsoka there, of course. Now, Hera talking to Ahsoka about who could help, and we go to Sabine, who is still as stubborn as ever. As she says, "Look at that Lothal. Look at that Lothal right there.
Look at that. Look at that Tom Cruise shot. That's it. That's the Top Gun Maverick.
That
is the runway.
I actually called that. I think in the trailer action when she does we'll get to it. When she does a very very Tom Cruise like Mission Impossible stunt kind of thing at the end there. I love that. By the way, let's go right into that, Ahsoka. About Master found you difficult at times. Anakin never got to finish my training. We get a mention of Anakin, and it's stupid. All she did was say the name Anakin, but I was like, ooh.
Well, we know Hayden's meant to be. He's meant to be in this.
Supposedly, those have never been confirmed. Those are all kind of things out there. I brought up. I am trying to keep my expectations down. I'm trying. I'm failing, but I'm trying. But this is the more interesting part. I walked away from him just like I walked away from Sabine. And now Sabine comes back and says, "You never made things easy for me." There's the Tom Cruise shot. Master.
I think that's just Sabine being a snarky little shit.
I agree with you. I have seen so much speculation that wait, Sabine's force sensitive now?
No,
she's got the force. And some people brought into play the only bit of like possible quote unquote proof was the scene from Rebels when Kanan is trading her with the Darksaber. And Hera says something about she doesn't have the force, and Kanan doesn't disagree, and Kanan kind of disagrees with that. So he's like, we all have the force in us. Everybody has the force in us, kind of thing. And I don't know if they're going to try to subscribe to anyone can be a Jedi eventually kind of thing with the proper training. I don't know if they're going to go for that. I don't necessarily love that idea. and I don't necessarily love Sabine being any kind of Jedi, but I got to leave the idea open. But I subscribe to what you're thinking. I think Ahsoka probably tried to train her as Kanan tried to train her, like as far as just fighting styles and things of that nature. Trying to train her how to fight Jedi, how to fight Force users with her own things at that point. Because that's what Mandalorians and Jedi's always have, that kind of connection, whether it's an anti-connection or a connection.
It also adds to the stakes because we know she's gonna face Shati at some point,
right?
Like she's gonna fight her with fight Shin Hati with the lightsaber. The one thing that got me here was something Ezra says.
Right.
If we keep going,
yeah.
Sometimes you have to make a decision no one else can, but I'm relying on you to see this through. Pause for a second. Pause on that. Have they been in contact with each other? Because it sounds to me Can we just play the clip? Because from how he says it makes it sound like that they have been in contact.
Well, before we play it, I thought, and I could be wrong, isn't this the exact speech? Isn't this the holo that was at the end of Rebels?
I'm not sure.
I think this is the Rebels exact. I am 99 because I did my Rebels rewatch. I am 99% sure this is the exact holo we see at the end of Rebels, because there is a mention of. I don't remember the exact quote. I remember it's the exact quote thing, but it was that. I'm counting on you to see this through. Was definitely a part of that thing, and because Sabine goes, I don't know what he meant by that. Obviously, he means about protecting Lothal and things like that. So I honestly think this is the exact same holo that I think he's been holding on to this holo forever. That's my.
I do love her doing the Kanan tying of the hair and
cutting. That's cutting the hair actually. That's what I was.
That's what I mean. Like she was like tying it up and then whoop.
Yep.
That's a very samurai thing to do as well. The cut when it was kind of seen as like a disrespectful thing, but they would like tie it, like if it was an opposing clan, they would make them tie up the top knot and then cut it off, because then that's like the sign of that's like a samurai's honor, and it's like you're cutting it off.
Right. Absolutely. I want to actually throw back real quick before we go forward. We skipped over this during Sabine. Hello there, little droid. Who's that?
No idea.
Looks a lot like an R2 unit for sure. Maybe but I wanted this. Definitely not R2, but it's definitely an R2 unit. I want to say this is our new droid. I love droids in Star Wars, so give me all the new droids, and I hope we love this droid as well. All right, so we go through this again. We just saw this nice haircut. Ahsoka and her getting together. Now, this is the weird thing: is this shot here? We see Huang there as well, on the right there. When we last saw Ahsoka and Sabine at the end of Rebels, they had this connection. They had a time where Sabine had already cut her hair, and Ahsoka and her were heading out.
Mm-hmm.
Is this thing we see here, as we go forward, the meeting here where she says nice haircut, is this supposed to be that scene in live action, or is this like after this and they're journeying away again? Like, this is the whole time frame for me throws this for a loop. Are we getting in a scene, because it seems like Ahsoka and Sabine are coming back together, are we getting a juxtaposition of time? Like, this is what happened after Rebels, and then the stuff with Hera is like she's got to go back to Sabine after that? I'm not sure.
I hope it's not that scene, because I'm just like, we've seen that scene.
Right.
We've seen it. Show me something new. Maybe it is just like a callback, and like she said it once and then she sees her again and she's like, nice haircut.
Right. And then that's what we did when we first went out, so we're ready to do it again, kind of thing. I mean, Wang wasn't there as far as we know at the end of Rebels, so maybe that's something true. I don't know. So either way, I still think there's a lot of time they can be playing with time a bit.
Is David Tennant playing Hu Yang?
Yes, he absolutely is. So I'm very happy for that. Here we go. Got the fight sequence here. We saw a little bit of this in the first trailer. It's funny that this trailer had a lot of shots from the original teaser. I did notice that. There's some good stuff as well, though. But what great fight sequences there.
Is that an HK droid?
I don't know. Let's see. No. Oh, maybe no. Some kind of different droid.
From back, kind of looked like a HK.
All right. We got Sabine being all Sabine here. I love that. Very excited over the shooting. Let's see.
That shot of the Purgil as they're like flying up to it is so So sick.
I didn't even realize what it was the first time I saw that trailer.
That's
I gotta be
purple.
honest with you. I know. Like when I watched a couple of people, oh, it's a purple. Like, because he went so quickly. The first time I saw, I was like, is that a rock formation? Is that no? That's a freaking purple. Sweet. Which of course is important given what we know about the purple taking Thrawn and Ezra at the end. So let's see. There he is, full. The guy, you guys got this at Celebration. We finally get it here. Looks great. Looks great. I love this look for him. I'm excited about where we're going. I think Lord
Red eyes.
Red eyes. That's right. We got the red eyes. Let's go forward. Now that's where a lot of people are also bringing the Jedi thing in. Is she trying to do that?
No.
Is she trying to do that, or is she not? I don't know.
When you get your ass kicked, you put your hand out like that to be like, no, stop, please don't.
But that's
like,
like,
no,
unless she's trying
stop.
to.
Unless she's trying to like reason with her and be like, look, no, stop.
Maybe, but then they got the lightsaber. So that's the interesting part. But Shin does say you have no power. I think either way, it's intriguing. I'm not upset about either way. I kind of want to see maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's a little bit. Would it be shocking or bad if Sabine had a spark, but like wasn't like a Jedi level? I kind of would like to see. I think that actually would be an interesting thing if you find out that she does have some connection to the Force, that she can do maybe little things, but she never developed it because she never had enough of a spark that people ever really noticed. And so she lives her life as like this lowest level of Jedi kind of thing, where like a little bit of Jedi stuff in her.
That's the thing, right? The Force connects all living beings.
Right.
All living beings. I just like. I think it takes away a bit from her story if she is like.
Well, here's the thing.
Powerful enough to wield it like a Jedi.
Here's the thing I think about. Because we've always had stories of absolutes. It's either you're a Jedi with all your power or you're Sith with all your power. There's got to be some people who are like, they get the D plus in the exam, barely scrape by. They got a little bit like they got enough just to pass by. And of course, it would make sense that as a Mandalorian growing up, they would have completely not looked at her as a Jedi. I mean, we know we have the Jedi, obviously, the Mandalorian Jedi. I can't remember, Tarvizla. That's right. Right, exactly. So we have him, but he was a special case. I think Mandalorians generally don't want to be Jedi, so they would have kind of crushed that down. And that's a great analogy for things in life, that you crush things down, and you can't be who you're really supposed to be. So maybe that away from Mandalore for so long with Ahsoka on this long journey, maybe she does find a little bit of that spark in her. Not enough to become a full Jedi. I don't think you'll ever see a full Jedi out of her, but just enough that it would kind of give credence to her being able to fight Shin with a lightsaber. Even with the Mandalorian stuff, I don't know. I'm open-minded to the idea. I don't want to see her become like.
I think she has her. I think her reflexes are enhanced.
Right.
I just maybe that is down to the Force, but like maybe it's just like enough to keep her out of trouble.
Right. Exactly. Maybe a little bit of something. It'd be kind of cool to see. I don't want to see her like becoming the next Ezra, and her and Ezra being Jedi's back to back. I think that'd be too much. I mean. It depends on what they give me. I'll watch this. And if it does, they do it well. Maybe they do it well, then it does work for me. Mm-hmm. I prefer it right now before I watch it that's what we get is something maybe small. So, but anyway, get her fighting Shin with Ezra's lightsaber. And then there's Baylan. Anakin spoke highly of you to Ahsoka, so Baylan knows Anakin. This is where this connection can come to play. Oh, I'm so sad. And poor God, rest in peace, Rey. I wanted to see so much more from this character already. He was so a joyous celebration. He was like excited about being there, being in Star Wars, and what we could have gotten more from Baylan afterwards. I feel like we could have gotten so much from him.
Look at the fucking size of him.
Right.
I know, like we were saying, and I'm probably gonna get to that point, but like right now, I'm just looking at the man. I'm like, that is a bear of a human being.
100%, man. But yeah, the fact that he knows Anakin just adds a lot to it. So I'm interested to see. There was talk about him, like he's, there's some people out there. Oh, another Order 66 survivor. I kind of feel like he might be one of the Lost 20.
Possible.
Potentially, like he left the Order like before Duke or whatever, but maybe he still kind of talks to the Order once in a while. Maybe talked to Anakin on a mission or something. So it wasn't really necessarily a part of the Jedi Order when Order 66 happened. He was gone. He was away. Maybe he was in the unknown regions, and maybe that's where Thrawn found him. I don't know. I had a lot of possibilities there. So, of course, you get a little battle there. Ahsoka versus Balin is going to be very exciting, I think. But the power he has. Lots of explosions there. And then Huang, of course, we got a lot of work to do. Once a rebel, always a rebel. Lots of battling here.
That I'm fairly certain that was a HK droid.
Right there?
Yeah.
Possible.
Look at the back. Look at the back. If we get HK and it says meat bag for the first time,
That'd be cool.
I would love it.
That would be very cool. The action seems intense. I love this. I love Ahsoka's face here. Like, yeah, whatever. I've seen these things before.
Bro, she's Shania Twain. That doesn't impress me much.
Right. But who is this?
Eighth
That's
brother.
what I don't know. Eighth brother? Or is it even Barasafi, maybe? Who knows?
No. Someone goes flying off screen in Star Wars and you don't see the body. It means they're coming back.
All right. That's where the end of the trailer is. I think that's a great place to end the episode here. So I'm glad. I was happy to have you back. Happy to be back on board here. Good to have you here. Good to talk Star Wars. And I can't wait to talk more next week. We got a cool show in play. Why don't you tell them about that there, Maddie? You came up with this idea.
So I've been doing, as people can probably tell from how much I've brought it up on this episode of the podcast, I've been doing an Oppenheimer deep dive. I read American Prometheus. I was like, okay, I want to like go into, because people are saying how this, I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to the Science Museum in 2 days to watch it. And while I was doing my research, I saw an hour-long conversation a sit-down conversation between George Lucas and Christopher Nolan. And I've only watched like 5 minutes of it before I was like, hold on, this is a thing to do for the podcast, like to sit down and watch these two brilliant minds, just because I think Nolan is very much like George in that he with Oppenheimer, he hasn't used any CGI. So he's like constantly trying to find ways to push movie making and like push the art. So I feel like him and George are very similar in that regard, and they care a lot about the story.
I want to shoot in there. There's been some people that's kind of been an issue that like he's used no CGI. I think it's a technical term. It's definitely a misinterpretation of things. When he says no CGI, there are visual effects shots. There are CGI effects shots. What he meant by this was clarified later on, but there's a whole big rip roar and like outpour from the visual effects people or visual effects people in general that what he meant to say specifically was that there was no computer graphic like scene. Like there was nothing shot, like everything was real shot. They added effects afterwards to some of the things, to some of the CGI things, but it was all based in practicality.
That like the Trinity test, like he actually constructed not a nuclear bomb, but he constructed a bomb for it. But I feel like him and George are very similar in that regard, in that it's all about the story. It's all about like making the best. And I'm not a fan of all of Nolan's movies. I don't like. I had to study Memento in college. Didn't like it. I don't like Tenet.
Right.
He's very hit and miss for me, but I feel like the spirit of the two, I feel like they're kindred spirits.
Right.
Absolutely. So I think this would be a good thing for us to, like we've just done with the trailer, just watch along and dissect.
Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. So, all right, folks, Maddie, where can the folks find you?
You can find me. Well, I'm actually kind of taking a little break from social media at the minute, so you can find my band Mourner, Mourner, on all DSPs. New song coming soon. You can find me here for Holy Snokes. We've wrapped MID Classified for now. Who knows when that's going to be coming back? But yeah.
All right. You can find me at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter, at PLD Products on Threads. And you can find me all over the channel. Obviously, we have a lot of shows going on. We have too many different way to use on film. We're going to venture into the Friday the 13th series now. We have Review with me and Lego going through the V franchise. We have Crown Jewels going through the Queen catalog. This week is You Take My Breath Away. Very nice soft ballad from Freddie and the piano, basically. We have, what else we do? We just wrapped on Declassified, like we said. The Harris is coming soon, very soon. In fact, the Harris will debut tomorrow on the channel. That'll be the first time we get to see the channel. There is
Yes.
done. So
What are we starting with? What is it? Literally hit his first ever role.
It's his first ever role. It's a TV show called Gibbsville. Debuted 9 days before I was born. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. 9 days before I was born, Ed Harris made his debut on TV. So take that as you will. All right, but of course, next week, come back for more. We are back for Ahsoka. Stay tuned with us. Hang on with us. And of course, as always, folks, as always here. May the Force be with you. Always.